and it has given a link also to follow and edit the content. So I don't understand the problem. So you just stick to this room and come back from there. That's all if it is not working, okay? So now even there is no audio. I don't understand why. The volume is full, everything is working. Yeah, let it, don't worry about it. It's okay. It's not meant to be, it's fine. We have recorded it and we will upload the recording or something somewhere. So, see, this is the story of the upside down tree. Yeah. Because it represents upside down priorities in life. Samsara tree. The samsara tree is just like that. Urdhva moolaha. Moolam means the roots. Where should the roots be? No. Where are they? Urdhvam, up. Avak means below. Shakha, the branches are grazing the ground, and the roots are above. And what is this? Eshaha ashwatha. Ashwatha means here it means a ficus religiosa, a certain kind of a ficus tree, or banyan tree. Usually it's taken as a banyan tree. Ashwatha is it's a term that is a very encompassing term. It's a banyan tree. And what kind of a banyan tree is it? It is a kind of a banyan tree which is not here tomorrow. That's the derivation of Ashwatha. Shwaha na tishtati shwaha tishtati nava. Is it going to be there tomorrow or not? Shwaha means tomorrow. Is it going to be there tomorrow or not? That's a doubt. So it is finite. So the tree represents everything that is finite because it's constantly getting destroyed. And then it's an irony here, a paradox, because it's infinitely finite. Sanatana means it reproduces itself infinitely in a finite way. Like karma phala, more karma phala, and one is going in a circle that we talked about in the morning. A total samsaric circle. So prahuhu means those who know, they say. Prahuhu means they say. What do they say? This is sanatana, infinitely finite, or we can say that the roots are infinite, and and this is not this is finite. What the tree itself, the leaves, etc., are finite. The roots are actually, what are the roots? Tadeva shukram. Shukram means free of any kind of demise, pure, shuddham. Tadeva shukram, that is Brahman. Tadeva Brahma. And then what? Tasmin lokaha shrutas sarve. In this, all the lokas are, there. All the lokas means what? All the fields of experiences. Lokyate iti lokaha. Lokyate anena iti lokaha. Both, that which is experienced is a loka. Because of which it is experienced is also loka. Yeah. So the loka is what drives one loco, I said in the morning. And so these lokas, whether they are in this life or in afterlife, because afterlife also there are lokas. 7 up, 7 down, we have seen. All these lokas are, these lokas, ironically, are the locus of the madness. And those lokas, if you take the lokas for granted, what is happening? Nothing is happening. You take the lokas for granted, nothing is happening. But then if you take the lokas and see the truth of the lokas, the source of the lokas, that is what is Brahman. Tasmin loka tadu natyeti kaschana, means it does not transcend the lokas, meaning it is beyond the lokas, but the lokas don't transcend it. The lokas are as though included in it. And again, a caveat, it's not that Brahman becomes a big cookie container and the lokas are various cookies. So Brahman is not a cookie jar where all the lokas are put. No. What is this? Whatever is contained, so to speak, we have to use the term as though. As though contained, it's not really contained. There is not container contained bhava there at all. Container contained bhava is not there. And so what is there? There is only Brahman. Then why are we talking about this? Because that's what the study is about. The study is about the duality affecting one, and because the duality is affecting one, it has to be told that this duality is as though it is not real. Okay? So therefore, what to do now? You have to see the as thoughness of the whole thing. And so we say that whatever is projected is as though. It's like what? The dream. In the dream, when you have a dream, let's say you are attending this class in your dream, correct? Yeah. Because not infrequently sleep comes best in Vedanta classes. So let us say you nodded off now, and in the nodding off, what happened? You had a dream. And what's the dream? You're attending the class right here. That's the dream. Why go to the dream to attend the class when I'm already in the class? Don't ask too many questions. So right now, you are in the dream. You're attending the class in the dream. So there are other people, correct? And there is you. There are other people. Everybody is having a good time. And we are all talking. This is all in the dream. Okay? And suddenly, sometimes what happens, the teacher changes the voice. It's for this reason, You go up an octave, you come down. Maybe the regular tone is C sharp, you make it C, and you change the tone. This is inherited from the guru, part of the pedagogy, so that, this has a little, change the frequency of the tone a little bit. And then you wake up, poof. Oh, am I still in the dream? No, now I'm really in the class. That was what? Dream class, correct? So who is upholding the dream class? Your own memory, your own desire, your own knowledge, correct? Yeah. So even though you may say that the dreamer contains the dream, the dreamer is not a container like a cookie jar where all the dreams are there, correct? So this is how we have to understand this Brahman. This samsara tree is a aid to understanding, aid to understanding the upside down priorities. And Adi Shankara goes, takes and runs with it. And we're going to read the Bhashya a little bit. And it is, there is a slight echoing. I don't know what to do about that. There is a hissing sound also here. I don't know what to do about that either. Just pay a little more attention. That will be okay. Ignore the echo. Okay? Yeah. So, ऊर्ध्वं मूलं यत् तद् विष्णोः परमं पदम् अस्य इति सः अयम् अव्यक्तादि स्थावरान्तः samsara urdhva. What a beginning for this bhashya. Fantastic. He says, what is this upside down tree? He says, urdhva mulaha means urdhvam moolam yasya. The ones whose roots are somewhere else. And immediately he says what the roots are, because from the earlier section, which section? Long ago, when that Ritam Pibantav, Rathakalpana, that imagery of the chariot was done previously, long ago, several, sections ago, that road on which the chariot, which is the body, with the horse senses, and with the reins, which is the mind, and the buddhi, which is the guru, the inner guru, the charioteer, that whole picture was made complete with the adhvan, the road of dharma, and the goal is what? Vishnoho paramam padam. The goal is not Vishnu's abode like what the ISKCONs will describe. That's not a real abode where Lord Krishna is playing with sticks and you go and join Lord Krishna. That's not the point. Vishnu here means sarva vyapin. Vyapi means pervasive. The one who is all pervasive, that abode, and that abode is you. That abode is Brahman. So Vishnoho Paramam Padam, the ultimate abode, the only abode. And this abode is what is, Urdhva Moolam, meaning the roots, the root of the whole universe. The source of the whole universe is invisible. Why is it invisible? Because it cannot be objectified. Why can't it be objectified? Because it happens to be the subject. Why is it the subject? Because you're asking the question. It's you. That's why. And so, because it is you, it cannot be objectified. And because it cannot be objectified, the person without self knowledge thinks this is invisible. And this is all upside down. And so, this is what is clarified right at the beginning. So, Saha Ayam Avyaktadi Sthavaranta Samsara Vrikshaha. And so, this is the tree of Samsara. And Samsara has its roots in Brahman. This is what we have to, we have to understand. Samsara it cannot stay without Brahman. Oh, but Samsara is Brahman? Yes. So, but Brahman is Samsara? No. Samsara is a dependent reality based on a skewed understanding of my own self and of the Jagat and of Ishvara. That is Samsara. Samsara is not a real thing. It's my own skewed understanding because of not knowing. This is what Samsara is. And so therefore what? Therefore I have to see this very, very clearly. And he says this, that this Samsara Vrikshaha, and this is the tree which is dependent on the roots. Just like every tree is dependent on the roots, this is also dependent on the root. And like every tree is dependent on the root. Root is Brahman. Root is the truth of yourself. Root is Bhagavan. And then, fruit is Karma Phala. Root is Bhagavan. And it is called Samsara tree. And so in Sanskrit, the beauty is that every word has its meaning hidden in the word itself. Yeah. What are some examples I have always given?
The fire.
Yeah, what is it called? What is the fire called?
Fire. I know it says never enough.
Yeah. Alam na vidyate iti analaha. Analaha means fire. How did you get the word analaha? Alam means enough. Na vidyate, the one who doesn't know the meaning of enough. You keep giving ghee, the fellow drinks in a yajna, and you give it one California forest, it migrates to another area and starts burning it up. It never says, not to, I don't think I can have ghee, I'm having cholesterol because 5,000 years of yajna, I can't do this. No. Alam na vidyate iti analaha. And then Vayu is called anilaha. Anilaha means Vayu. Vayu is air. Why? Na nilayati, does not stay in one place. Yeah. And vrikshaha, this is another word. From what? Vrashchanat, Adi Shankara says. Because the definition of tree, why is it vrikshaha called tree? Vrashchanat, because it is subject to being felled. Yeah. You fall, but a tree is felled. Yeah. Because it is felled, it's a tree. How beautiful. But English is so arbitrary. You don't have these kinds of meanings. Yeah. Tree, what does tree mean, No meaning. There is no connection. It's all arbitrary. English is actually a very difficult language to learn. Sanskrit is easier. See, I'm trying to, get some people to get interested in Sanskrit. So, this is what the whole thing is. So, he says, Vrikshascha Vrashchanat, one sentence, and Vrikshascha, and Vriksha is called such because it is available to be felled, and it is some Unadi Sutra, how it becomes O Vrashchu is the verb, Dhatu is O Vrashchu. Yeah. And then how does it become Vriksha? Let us see. And that means Chedane, to cut. And then what else? and then some Unadi Sutra takes place. Then O Vrashchu becomes, something takes place. Samprasana takes place, and it becomes Vrikshaha. So O Vrashchu is the root verb. Okay. So then he says Vrikshascha Vrashchanat, and then he says Janma Jara Marana Shokadi Aneka अनर्थात्मक प्रतिक्षणम् अन्यथा स्वभावः मायामरीचि उदक गन्धर्वनगरादिवत् दृष्टनष्टस्वरूपत्वाद् अवसाने च वृक्षवद् भावात्मकः कदलीस्तम्भवत् निस्सारः अनेकशत पाखण्ड बुद्धि विकल्पास्पद तत्व विजिज्ञासुभिः अनिर्धारित एतद् अतत्वः वेदान्त निर्धारित परब्रह्म मूलसारः अविद्याकामकर्म अव्यक्त बीज प्रभवः परब्रह्म विज्ञान क्रियाशक्ति I'm keeping reading, looking for either a comma or a full stop. Neither is imminent. Okay, so we keep on reading. So until we get a place where we can at least pause. I should have paused here, but it did not happen. So we'll go a little further. So Parabrahma Moola Sara Avidya Kama Karma Avyakta Bija Prabhavaha Aparabrahma विज्ञान क्रियाशक्ति द्वयात्मक हिरण्यगर्भ अंकुरः. Okay, I'm going to stop here. Even though this is all one sentence, and this one sentence goes to 2 pages in this book. Yeah, one sentence is 2 pages long, and that comes when you have a wonderful what is that called? A grasp of the Sanskrit language. So you can keep on making compounds. One word is 3-4 lines long, and one sentence is 2 pages long. Yeah. So, and why? Because he's carried away. He's so eager to give this all in a very clear, concise, and in the only way that he can. It's just a wonderful. It's not terse. It is just very well crafted. That's all. So now he says, what does he say? He says something right at the beginning. He unpacks the tree, because the tree imagery has come. So what does the tree have? Root, we already know. The root is you, but then the root alone does not make it the tree. We have fruits, we have flowers, we have leaves, we have, what else do we have? We have trunk. What else do we have in the tree? Branches. What else? Imagination. What else do we have in the tree? Come on. What else is there in the tree? Birds. Abba. Yeah, roots, trees, branches, twigs, flowers, and what else? Birds. And if birds are there, what else should be there? What do the birds stay in? Nests. Yeah. So this is how we have to think.
Okay.
Yes, this is how we have to think. We have to let, Vedanta comes, when one lets the creative imagination free. Yeah. You can't just, think of rules. Oh, Sanskrit, yes, rules. You cannot say, I'm going to make up a word, tra-la-la. You can't do that. There are rules. Sanskrit is an aid to Vedanta, which is actually, you have to have that ability to, what is that? Soar. Yeah. If we don't soar, one is always soar, S-O-R-E, so therefore, we just, tree means immediately, how does Adi Shankara go with it? Tree means he thinks of the whole ecosystem called this tree. There may be a hollow there, Then maybe some foxes living in the hollow, squirrels are there. Yeah, this is all. What all constitutes a tree? Termites are there, woodpeckers are there. We can go on and on with it, you know. And then that's when the Upanishad speaks, you know. Then you have your own Upanishad. Yeah. That's how it is. Because you have let yourself open up. Because the word tree, immediately, because we know tree, you know, it's not something unknown. If you said something unknown, okay, we don't know how to even imagine because we don't know what that is. But here, tree is not something unknown. Tree is known. And so when you know the tree, then immediately all the things that are tree come to mind. So there is a sap, yes? And then that, what is that called? That resin, tree sap, resin is there. Then bark, correct? And what else is there? Let's keep thinking. And then the, you know, leaves, we have said, yeah. Twigs, big branches, smaller twigs, and the home of birds' nests, and maybe a kite is stuck there. Yeah.
Earth.
Earth is here. Earth is where the leaves are because it's an upside down tree. Very interesting. So it's an upside down tree, and so meaning the samsara is standing on its head because it's wrong, because of wrong priorities. Yeah. The leaves are burdened, the branches are burdened with the hopes, with the infinitely finite hopes of the people, and the branches are coming down. That's why the branches are down. And then it's like the branches are also down because we have to think of adventitious roots, like the banyan tree, Nyagrodha. What does Nyagrodha have? Adventitious roots, where these little fibers start coming in the form of leaves and then they take root. So this is samsara. It infinitely, reproduces the finite. How does that make sense? We know. It makes sense, you know. That's how it is. And so he is going to take each and every aspect of this tree and use his imagination to show what it represents, which is why this bhashya is very priceless. And I want to at least, look at some things here. So the first one he says that Vrashchanat vriksha, that which is felled is a tree. Why should it be felled? He says, Janma jara marana shokadi aneka anarthatmaka pratikshanam anyatha swabhavaha. Here are some reasons why the tree should be felled. One is because it is characterized by janma, birth. This samsara tree is full of what? Birth. After birth, what comes?
Death.
Yeah, but before that?
Old age.
Jara. The word geriatry must have come from jara. And jara. And then what? Marana. What is marana? Death. And then shoka. What is shoka? Sorrow. Shoka. Aneka. Shokadi. Adipadat bhaya also. We have to think. Adi means etc. When he uses etc. See, the word etc. in Sanskrit is interesting. Adi means actually beginning. So shokadi means shoka, janma, jara, vyadhi is at the beginning of which list. Then you complete the list. Then you say bhaya, then all kinds of other problems, come. And so all that is included. And then shokadi, and what is in common? What do janma, jara, marana, shoka, what do they have in common? Aneka anarthatmakaha. Anartha means na arthyate. Yeah, unwanted. Never prayed for. Nobody goes to the temple and says, "Oh Lord Ganesha, please give me obstacles." Nobody says that. "Oh Lord Shiva, give me sorrow." Nobody says that. Anartha. Artha means that which is desired. Arthyate sarvaihi purushaihi purushartha. Purushartha means the goals in life are universally desirable. But these are universally undesirable. You talk to, they don't need to know Vedanta, they don't need to know Hindu tradition, they don't need to know anything. You go to China and say, do you want to fall sick? You just catch hold of somebody. And however they say in Mandarin, they will say no. You go to Greece and you say, do you want to fall sick? They will also say no. And you go somewhere else, and you say, do you want to die? They will say no. This is universally unwanted. A big, endless list of universally unwanted is called anarthatmaka. Meaning atmaka here means of the nature of things unwanted, undesirables, a group of undesirables, and the of the nature, anarthatma means that whose atma, whose swabhava is anartha alone. Anarthatma means whose atma is anartha. This is, bahuvrihi. And the ka pratyaya, the ka at the end, kutsitarthe, means kutsita means you're sarcastically saying anarthatmakaha, meaning you're making slight of it. That's what it is. Kutsitarthe ka pratyaya. Have you studied that? Not yet. Okay. So that is the suffix. So then, then what happens? Pratikshanam anyatha swabhavah. Not only that, as though this isn't bad enough, every second it is changing. Ayyo, what to do with this? Right now you look, all the leaves have gone. Why? Autumn, winter. And then you look in the spring, something has come. Then you look in the fall, it is hanging low with fruits. And then you look in something, and then the flowers are there. And then you get very happy that the flowers are there, and the flowers go. This is pratikshana anyatha swabhava, meaning it is ever changing. And what do you want? What you want is something that is never changing. What you desire is something never changing. But this tree is full of anarthas, and anarthas, and it changes itself in every minute. How Maya Marichi Udaka Gandharva Nagari Vat, so it changes itself. How does it keep changing? He gives an example. Maya here doesn't mean Maya, Brahman and Maya. Maya here means local magic. Maya means like the like magic. In magic, what happens? The magician comes, right? And then he shows you there is a coin in the hand. In the other hand, empty. Then goes like this, and then calls a person from the audience and pretends to put it in the ear, and then it's not in the ear of the person, and it's not in the hands. Magic, correct? So this tree is also like magic. You're trying to climb it, the branch falls down. Or even better still, you yourself cut off the branch in which you're sitting. Self-sabotage in samsara. So it's magic. It keeps changing. It keeps shape-shifting. You can't get the hang of it. That's how the finite things in life are. The more you pursue them, the more you become enslaved, because you're not getting what you want. And what you're wanting, you're not getting. Of course, if you don't get what you want, what do you get? What you don't want. That is anartha. So only anartha comes through this relentless cycle of karma, karma phala, karma, karma phala, karma, karma phala. Then you just end up with anartha, more and more anartha. So what are these anarthas like? They are like magic. You cannot figure out. You feel you have been tricked constantly. And then Marichi Udaka. Marichi Udaka means, what is that? Like oasis. Yeah, oasis in the sand. Mirage, Marichi here is mirage. Marichi Udaka is mirage water. So imagine a traveler in the sand, and suddenly the sun is glinting on the sand, and what does one want? Water. And so that hot sun and the dehydration messes with the brain, and then you start seeing the water. And the person takes off the clothes and jumps, thinking, I'm taking a cool plunge in the water. What kind of water? Sandy water. There is no water. So all these hopes and dreams of these trees are just ephemeral, infinitely finite, like the magic show, like the mirage water, Marichi Udaka, and then Gandharva Nagari, Gandharva Nagaradivat. Gandharva Nagara means what? The cloud empire, cloud town. Nagari is town. Gandharva Nagari. Gandharva actually means some kind of a celestial town, but here it means the town made up of clouds. Like when you're flying from place to place, what do you see? You see all the clouds, that's all you can see from the small window of the plane. And then you say, oh, that one looks like a teddy bear. This one looks like a monster. Oh, that one looks like the skyline of New York. And this one has some kind of a shape of, a house. Oh, maybe it's my house, and that's the neighbor's house. And oh, somebody is coming out of the house. Behind the house, there are some hills. And you get into this, you completely get into this. And then what? Poof! It shape shifts again. And then your whole Gandharva Nagari, the cloud town, dissembles and reassembles itself into something else. So this samsara is like that. It is ephemeral. It is changing constantly, like even these examples, Marichi Udakadivat. And what do all these things have in common? Magic show, mirage water, and cloud town. What do they have in common? Quick.
None is real.
None is real. And as soon as you see, they are destroyed. Drishta nashta swabhava. Yeah. As soon as you see, in the sight, drishte nashta. In the sight is the nasha. Yeah. Whole jagat is like that. Whole srishti is like that. Srishti is really your drishti. But if you think srishti is independent of your drishti, then it is drishta nashta swabhavaha. And then what does he say? Drishta nashta swarupatvad avasane cha, avasane cha vrikshavat bhavatmakaha. So, what does it mean? So, it's like this. It ceases to exist. Avasane means ultimately it is tata bye-bye. It ceases to exist. Correct? It's not always existent. Avasane means there is a gap. It ceases to exist. Finally it is gone. And then, and then what happens? And like the tree, vrikshavat, like the tree, what does it have? While it is in existence, kadali stambhavat nissaraha. It is like a bland, nissaraha means bland, tasteless, bland, without essence. Sara, essence, and nissara, the essence has departed from which. That is what is called nissara. And how is the tree, the samsara tree, and whatever it stands for is nissara? How? Why? It is nissara because of the fact that, it is likened to a bark of the banana tree. Banana, tree. You take the bark and it peels, one layer you peel, then you peel, then you peel. It peels endlessly. In fact, there is nothing appealing about it because it's endlessly peeling. There is nothing, no Sara. You keep peeling, like artichoke. And, I don't know why people eat it. Really, I mean, you keep. Somebody said, "Oh, this is a big delicacy, and you have to." They gave this thorny thing to me, and I said, "What is this? Are you sure you eat it?" They assured me you have to eat it. And there was this little dish of melted butter and something, and you take that one thorny thing you pick, and then you dip it in that, and it's so much hard work. Nothing. At the end, you have all this evidence that you have eaten a whole artichoke, and then you're not even full. And then it's a miracle you haven't choked on it. That's why it's called artichoke, because any minute you can choke on it. So like this banana bark is like that. It's just, it's only used for people with kidney stones. You cut that into small pieces and make a bland curry and give it to people who are having kidney stones, and it's, it's easy for them. For some renal issues, it's a medicinal thing. It's not a delicacy. So this samsara tree is like that. Nissara, meaningless, tasteless. No, but I think samsara is tasty. So check your priorities. That is the problem. That is the delusion that what is without taste you are finding tasty. Then there is a problem with perception. And then what does it say? Then it says that kadali stambhavat nissaraha. And then what? अनेकशतपाखण्डबुद्धिविकल्पास्पदत्वा पदः तत्त्वविजिज्ञासुभिः अनिर्धारित अनिर्धारित एद अनिर्धारित इदं तत्त्व वेदांत निर्धारित परब्रह्म मूलसारः अविद्याकामकर्म अव्यक्त बीज प्रभवः. We'll stop here, so because otherwise we'll forget what is, what he's trying to say. So further he says the it is like the stem of the plant and tree, Nissarah, and it is what do the branches represent? The branches represent pakhanda. Pakhanda means notions, strongly held, conservative and wrong notions. About what? About the world, about the Jagat, about the Jiva, the individuals, and about Ishvara, the creator. So Jiva Jagat Bhedaha, one misunderstanding, that Jiva and Jagat are different. Jiva Bheda, there is a difference between one Jiva and another view, correct? And then what? Jiva Ishvara Yoho Bhedaha. Between Jiva and Ishvara, they are two different people. These are all notions. And each of those notions have made a stronghold in the form of a branch. That's why they are called branches. Branches of knowledge. They have branched out, in the wrong way. That's why it is samsara. Because if you hang on to that branch, you are out on a limb. This is you're hanging out on a limb. And you may even dial 911. No fire truck will come to rescue. Because you're out on your own. Oh, but at least a few other people are hanging with me. They are equally deluded. They also cannot help you because they are also hanging. You are also hanging. The only solace is you are not the only one. So, anirdharita idam tattvaha. What is idam? Idam means this. What is idam? Idam, purnamadaha, purnamidam. Idam means this effect. Idam here means effect, the jagat. This jagat is purna, is whole, is limitless as the source itself from whence it has come, as it were. So if the jagat is purna, then the source is also purna. This, if it is not understood, anirdharita idam tattva. So for the people who have branched out based on the wrong notions. First is Atma Ajnanam. Because of Atma Ajnanam, what happens? Branching out takes the truth of myself. Because I don't know, Anyatha Grahanam. The eye becomes a sitting duck for all kinds of mistakes made on the eye, and these mistaken notions, leave you out on a limb. Then you're just hanging out. What are you doing? What did you do in your last life? Oh, I hung out with the Charvakas. Who are the Charvakas? Charu Vakyasya, who talk sweetly, but who are basically materialists. What are materialists? This life is the only life. Eat, drink, be merry. You are not responsible for your actions. But what about karma phala? Oh, forget it. Yavat jivet, so come jivet. As long as you live, you just get what you want. Oh, but I can't afford it. Rinam kritva api ghritam pibet. Make sure you have ghee with every meal. And borrow money if you need to do. Max out your credit card. Oh, but who will return it? Vasmi bhutasya dehasya punaragamanam kutah. Once the body is consigned to the flames, who is going to come back? Don't worry. You are as good. Dehatma buddhi. One branch. And then another branch, Vaisheshika. Another branch, Nayayika, the logician. Another branch, the one who says, Mimamsa. The one who is constantly analyzing the first portion of the Vedas. And then what? Even within Vedanta, for me, Vedanta means the one that is talking about, the Jiva Ishvara Yoho Abhedaha. But even that, there is what? Bhedavada. And then Abhedavada. And then Bhedavada. Sometimes you are separate, sometimes you are one. With Ishvara. When you are bad, you are separate. When you are good, you are one. These are all out on a limb. This is the samsara tree. How beautiful. He has interpreted the branches to be the various, these are not what is called schools of thought. This is the main problem I have with academia, because they they consider these schools of thought. Yeah. This is not schools of thought. This is unschooled understanding of that which really is staring at you in the face. How can they take the same Upanishad and then derive something else? I don't know. Of course, one has, the tradition has given the hermeneutic freedom. So that's fine. We say Namaha in their places, but really speaking, this is not something that is going. You may get intellectually stimulated by looking at all these darshanas, but really they're not going to. It is not going to transform you. It's nice to have a discussion. Oh, what do the Nayayikas say? What do the Vaisheshikas say? What do the, Abhedavadis say? This, what do these people say? It becomes an academic discussion. It is not transformative. That's the difference here. So we are not talking of the Vedanta is the sixth school of thought. It's not a school of thought. The difference is between the view and the points of view. A point of view is not opposed to the view. So, in fact, in the last, chapter of the Mandukya Upanishad, all these are discussed in the Karika. All these various, in the Alata Shanti Prakarana, all these various different ways of looking at the same Upanishad, which was there, which has an abiding presence in the spiritual, history of India. This was discussed. Not even by Adi Shankara, by Adi Shankara's grand guru, Gaudapadacharya, discusses it. And he discusses it with such fairness that you can actually understand how this person thought that. You appreciate the Nayayika, but you see that he could only go this far and no further. It's a point of view. You appreciate the Sankhya, you appreciate the Vaisheshika. In fact, Vaisheshika, Nayayika, small difference. You appreciate the Bauddha, the Buddhist. You appreciate all these people. The Dvaitin also you appreciate. You appreciate, Charvaka also, because you have been everywhere. You can see that. You can see your own trajectory. And you can see that to a certain extent they are not wrong because they are seeing something from a standpoint. But the standpoint is just a point of view. If one is not hanging on to the notions, if one is ready to open up, there is a view. A point of view can be appreciated when the view is understood. But the problem is when the point of view is mistaken for the view, one has made a mistake forever. Yeah, we thought only Brahman is forever, but these mistakes are also forever. This is the problem. So therefore he gives these beautiful, wonderful branches of the tree as various wrong branched out notions. And each of these notions are what? Nissaraha, wrong notions, and Pakhanda Buddhi and Vikalpaspada. Vikalpaspada means forever changing their mind, forever trying to improve upon what they thought, forever doing something or the other to it. And then Tattva Vijignyasubhihi. These are all well-meaning people. Vijignyasubhihi. They are all jignasus. They are desirous of knowledge. Knowledge of what? Tattva. Tattvam, Jnatum Ichchuhu. So these jignasus, the one who are interested in knowing the tattva, the truth, unfortunately, due to lack of grace, Guru's grace, Bhagavan's grace, got, when there is no grace, what happens? Or when there is less grace, you graze into other areas. It's very good, yeah. Graze into other areas and then come to wrong conclusions and have indigestion. That's what you do. And this is what it is. So these are all well-meaning jignasus, but what happens? Anirdharita idam tattvaha. So this samsara tree represents the branches. Each of them is anirdharita idam tattvaha. So the idam tattva, that which is, which this I is all about, that which the tattva is all about is not nirdharita. It is not understood certainly. And then what? Vedanta nirdharita parabrahma moola saraha. So the root is what? The root is Brahman ascertained by Vedanta. He's saying that. He doesn't say Advaita Vedanta. Now we have to start putting Advaita Vedanta in the modern time, because people all think we are also Vedantins, but we don't believe what you say. We say, we look at the Upanishad and come to a different, conclusion. So Adi Shankara's time, that was not there. Vedanta meant Advaita Vedanta. There was no other kind of Vedanta. And so he doesn't qualify that. So he says, so the Anirdharita are the branches, but the root is truth. The root is Vedanta Nirdharita Parabrahma Moola Saraha. And then what? And then, Avidya Bijaha. So what is that? The tree has to have a seed. See, this is another thing we overlooked. The tree has to have seed. Tree does not come out of the air. Tree has to have the seed. What is the seed of the samsara tree? Avidya. Avidya is the bija. What kind of avidya? Atma avidya. Yeah. Swatma avidya. Avidya of one's own self. Yeah. Your own self you don't know. And that becomes the collective bija for this samsara tree. And then what? It has to have water, correct? Yeah. Water is the desire. Yeah. You water the tree, the seed with the water of desire, and then it sprouts. Let us see what the sprout is. So, then Vedanta Nirdha, yeah. Avidya Kama Karma Avyakta Bija Prabhava Parabrahma Vijnana Kriya Shakti Dvayatmaka Hiranya Garbhankuraha. He gives a very good meaning for the sprout. But before you go to the sprout, he talks about this, that, so the seed of ignorance is and the water of desire. The seed of ignorance, water of desire, yields the sprout. And here he looks at it from a very holy and sacred way, because he's not looking at individual, he's juxtaposing individual ignorance with the collective manifestation of the Jagat simultaneously, very beautifully. So he says, avidya is the bija for samsara. If you look at it collectively also, all the jivas clamoring to be reincarnated is what leads Bhagavan to incarnate, himself, herself as many. And so this is the truth. And then what? Here he says the ankura, the sprout, is Hiranyagarbha. What is Hiranyagarbha? That Bhagavan's potential to manifest. That Maya, that Hiranyagarbha, the potential to create, is the ankura, which is Apara Brahma, which is Bhagavan, in a manifestation of Bhagavan, all the manifestations, that power to manifest is, that Maya is here, considered the Ankura. And then what? Sarva Prani Linga Bheda Skandha. Skandha means what? The trunk. The trunk is the subtle bodies of all the jivas constitute the trunk. So let's say the trunk is a very crowded place. Everybody is living in the trunk. All the whole manifestations are in the trunk. And then the trunk of the tree. And then what? Now he comes to the water. Trishna Jala Avaseka Udbhuta Darpaha. Trishna Jala Avaseka Udbhuta Darpaha. So the growth, the growth happens. How does the growth happen? The growth happens because it is sprinkled. Avasekaha, sich, to sprinkle. Sich becomes sekaha. And so avasekaha means sprinkled, nicely soaked. By what? Trishna, longing. We already talked about this. The longing for this, that and the other. I want becomes water. Yeah. Actually, it is not water, it is wanter. So, the wanter keeps watering with his or her wants, and then that makes the sprout strong. It strengthens the sprout and makes it grow. What is that? Vigorously it grows. So then what happens? Sarva Prani, Buddhi Indriyadi Vishaya Prabalankuraha. So then when it grows, it diversifies. It diversifies into one little twig called buddhi, another 5 twigs called jnanendriya, 5 sense organs, another 5 twigs called karmendriya, organs of action. So like this, it keeps diversifying. The tender sprouts, the tender little twigs, they are what? The sense objects, the sense organs, all these things are there. Shruti Smriti Nyaya Nyaya Vidya Upadesha Palasha. Palasha means the leaves. The leaves are the teachings of the Shrutis. Shruti is what? Vedas. Smritis, secondary texts. And then Puranas, all these things. They become the leaves. Why? Because the leaves give shade. So like that, the Shruti embraces you, gives you a little respite from the hot winds of samsara. Otherwise, the tree is bare and you're exposed to the elements. So the Shruti and the Smriti in the form of the teaching, Dharma, Nyaya, all these Shastras, like the big foliage, they embrace the weary traveler who is going on this path. So therefore, the shady foliage are the temporary respite gained from what is that? Completely surrendering to the Shruti. Okay? And then, what are the flowers? Yeah. Yajna dana tapa adi adi aneka kriyayaha supushpaha. The flowers are the beautiful reaching out actions. Yajna, dana, tapa, your own spiritual growth, your own austerities causes the samsara tree to bloom. So in this dreary samsara tree, a few blooms are there. Think about a magnolia tree. Sometimes it's only in the older, not in in magnolia tree there are many kinds of genuses. So you think of the ancient magnolia tree. The new one, they have hybridized it to blossom completely without leaves, and we all like that because it looks wonderful. It's a riot of color, but not the traditional magnolia tree. If you look at the traditional magnolia tree, it's got foliage and 1 or 2 blooms very high away from you. So like that, in this samsara tree full of misery, a few good works stand out. Few things, fragrant here, because the rest of it is unbearable. Even in the current day, you look at the newspaper or you look online, you look at Yahoo News, you look at all these news sites, you feel like going offline immediately, don't you? And why is that? Why do you feel like going offline? Because there is only bad news. In fact, you shouldn't call it news. It is news, because it's very bad news. Then we have this Isis. Until recently we thought it was an Egyptian goddess, and now it is so far fetched from an Egyptian goddess. It's it's the most horrifying thing. And then so somebody is being shot, some people are getting killed, some people are getting terrorized, some people are killing each other, and this is all we see. We see bloodshed, we see war, we see pestilence, we see Ebola virus, this, that. Now Ebola virus, everybody was happy, we have eradicated, now it has come back. So, there is no good news. Then suddenly what? Okay, this group of children raised so much money for the floods in Chennai. How did they do that? They did not eat their school lunch, and the school lunch money they kept, saving, and all of them collected it and they gave this money. That is like, one little flower somewhere in this samsara tree. But then we have to have fruits too, right? What are the fruits? The fruits are Sukha Dukha Vedana Aneka Rasa Prani Upajivya Ananta Phala Ananta Phalaha. Yeah, Ananta Phalaha. So this is what this is the fruit. What is the fruit? The fruit is the alternative tastes of happiness and sorrow. Meaning, sudden one part of the fruit you bite, sweet. Another bite you take, rotten to the core. How can the one fruit which looks so good have so many tastes? Because it is the fruit of your action. And fruit of action, papa punya, comes together. And this fruit is made for you, and you are eating the fruits of your action, and it is never mono taste. It is always multiple tastes. Multiple tastes, and all these tastes are a big, it is very actually ultimately distasteful. And then, yes, come open the door. It is ultimately distasteful, and that distaste, we just say, is what is to be, looked at here. Aneka rasa, various tastes. So it could be astringent, it could be, very sweet, it could be very hard to eat, it could be so many things, all in one place. And so this is what the whole thing is. And because this innumerable fruits sustain the beings, sustain the life of this tree. So we'll stop here. We'll take a 5-minute break and come back to the next class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Hello Karen. Come. Yeah, we'll be back in 5 minutes. Don't go anywhere. This one, let's see. Let me stop this and say yes.